So at the moment, I'm sitting before my ancestor altar. There's a window right in front of me. And I know some of you have wondered how I communicate with the ancestors. And it's pretty much intuition. You know, I vocally speak to them. It's important to be able to vocalize what you want. That's important because it brings it to a head, it brings your understanding to a point, to a fixed understanding, and it's all part about communication. You know, it's all tied in with communication in general. So I will speak openly, aloud to the ancestors. Now, how do they talk to me? In my head. Honestly, it's feelings, it's sensations, it's words that pop in my head. It's the same technique I use when I'm gathering offerings for them. It's like, oh, what do you want? And then it's like, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. Like, okay, and I put it in a bowl and I give it to them. The lawn service is happening outside, so I don't know if you can hear that. If so, I apologize. But that's pretty much how I go about communicating with the ancestors. It's very mental, it's very internal. I vocalize things, they talk to me in the head. Some people might be like, well, you're crazy. Like, well, that's how you communicate with things like that, with spirits and deity. It's an intuitive thing. It's a mental thing. Some people can actually hear and see, spirits and what have you. I necessarily can't. It's not something I have that ability to do. It's not something, I have seen things in ritual, but it's not a common occurrence for me. So usually it's very just intuitive based. My interactions are very intuitive. Are things okay? Are things bad? Do I need to leave an area, for example? So it's very, very intuitive based, and that's why I even said in previous videos that that the intuition is very important, and it's important to foster that. And that's, if you can't see things, if you can't hear things, developing your intuition is the next best thing. So that's how I communicate with the ancestors. I will get feelings and answers through them that way. Usually meditation. If not, you could call it an epiphany, what have you. It's just this realization that happens, or this voice in your head that's like, yeah, you should be doing this, or no, don't do that, do this other thing instead. So that's generally how I communicate with the ancestors and the spirits in general, and conduct myself as a witch, as a magic person in the world. And that's probably not unlike how a lot of people interact with divinity, in other religions. So, I mean, growing up and learning about witchcraft and magic and the occult and everything, that was always something I was like puzzled by, is how do people hear things? How do they interact with spirits? In the case of evoking some kind of a spirit, you would use incense, for example, and you would interpret the incense and scry the incense, and you might get an interaction through the incense. But when you're not using incense, like right now I'm sitting before the ancestor altar, I could use incense, yes I could. That becomes a little bit of a time commitment, to burn the incense, to be here long enough. I'd use my foot, I'm just not that flexible. You have to sit here long enough, to let that burn out, because you don't want anything to happen with burning incense that isn't being tended to. So, when I don't have incense burning, for example, I use my intuition, and that's generally my go-to, is the intuition, because you can use that anywhere at any time. Anywhere at any time, driving in the car, sitting before an altar, walking in the woods, what have you, visiting a grave. It's a really important tool. So, I mean, it's a short video, but that's pretty much how I do it. It's all, you get a voice in your head, you get a sensation in your head, you get a nudge in your head to go to A or B or what have you, So, simple, easy. You know, I think that the real trick is just with working with the intuition and developing it is this discerning between your mind or your heart or your gut. You know, because your mind will tell you, I guess, logical things. Your heart will tell you emotional things. And generally your gut, if it's not telling you that we need food, or I need food, that's usually a pretty spot on thing. That's a very honest point for me to get answers from, is my gut. So I've learned how to decipher between my mind, my heart, and my gut. You know, it just takes practice, but that's pretty much how I communicate with, you know, the ancestors, you know, the spirits of the land, deity, what have you. So that's about it. A really short video. So, you know, if you like what you heard, subscribe down below or leave a comment. Peace.